Hello and welcome back to the Second Take Podcast. My name is Calvin Williams. I'm here with my co-host Marco Rogers. Today we have an episode, probably the most exciting one of the entire year because of the Michigan-Ohio State game coming up this weekend. The game, college football game day will be there. Everyone will be watching. The entire country's eyes will be on it as it has the college football playoff stakes in line. It is a very exciting game, and I am just thrilled to be able to watch it this weekend. But before we get there, we're going to do some recap, a little bit of World Cup action going on. We'll do a little NFL recap, college football predictions, NFL predictions, the usual, and we'll finish it off with the game. Everybody's favorite, the game. All right, I think I've said it enough. Marco, can you get us started?
To start it off, lots of top 5 teams struggle, including Michigan, number 3 in the country, survives in Ann Arbor against Illinois. That was just a crazy game. I was there. I believe Cal was there as well. I thought early on Michigan was going to take over, dominate this game, but Illinois just wouldn't go away. Then they came out in the third quarter, a quarter that Michigan had been dominant in. They completely dominated the third quarter. J.J. McCarthy missed a couple of key throws late, but Michigan survives. Maybe a few questionable calls by the refs going both ways, but Michigan survives, stays at number 3.
Definitely the most stressful game of the year for Michigan. Not the way you want to come out in the second half. We've been one of the better second half teams in the entire country as of yet. Definitely a struggle here, but I would almost call it good. A little bit of a wake-up call before the Ohio State game. Something that we needed, and just having that crutch that Jake Moody has been very helpful this season. He is the unanimous Lou Groza Award once again. He's a phenomenal kicker, and hopefully we can have Corum back for next week. Marco?
If Corum's not back and Edwards isn't back, definitely going to put Michigan at a severe disadvantage.
I believe Edwards was just sick this week, though, so I think he should be back next week.
Yeah, but even without Corum, that probably loses like 10% of Michigan's chances. Next up, Ohio State themselves, they struggle against Maryland. Scoreboard says 43-30. In reality, 36-30. Ohio State had a scoop and score with 6 seconds left, something Ohio State would do to run up the score. Ohio State, people said their weaknesses coming in. They couldn't run the ball. With Travion Henderson and Mine Williams out, I thought they would struggle to run the ball. If you told me coming in that Maryland would have put up 30 points, I would say maybe Maryland even wins. But, Dallin Hayden, the Ohio State freshman, obviously 5-star running back, comes in, 27 carries, 146 yards, 3 touchdowns. I believe 100 of those yards came in the second half, so they really imposed their will in the second half. Talia Tagovailoa, what a game that he had. He just wouldn't go away, made some incredible throws. But Ohio State just dominated this game, and in the third quarter, and then Maryland's fourth quarter comeback was not enough. They had an opportunity at a late drive to win it, but they just couldn't do it. Both Michigan and Ohio State show big struggles, but both of them get it done.
This game was, it's phenomenal to watch. Like you said, this is a 13-point game on the score sheet, but in actuality, that score at the end sort of just ran it up. Like you said, Talia Tagovailoa, in just phenomenal game. He really shows NFL promise, if you ask me. The way he was directing his receivers once he got out of the pocket, he's truly a phenomenal quarterback. He was making the throws when he needed to, and he did what he needed to do for the win, but unfortunately their defense couldn't get it done against a high-powered Ohio State offense. Moving on, we have number 4 TCU surviving against Baylor. It was sort of the theme this past weekend. Every team, Michigan, Ohio State, TCU, even Georgia got tested this weekend. So really interesting weekend about this TCU game. To be honest, this should have been a Baylor victory, which would have shaken up the scope of the college football season completely. But unfortunately for those college football playoff hopefuls aside from TCU. They were able to get a last-second field goal to win it. Marco?
Yeah, I mean, Baylor's up 28-20 with 2 minutes and 10 seconds left. Obviously, TCU was at the 3-yard line at that point, but still, when you're up by that much with that little amount of time left, you have to win. It just came down. Illinois, they played too conservative on that drive where Michigan used their timeouts. Baylor, they played too conservative on the drive where TCU used their timeouts. If you want to pull off an upset, you can't play that conservative when you have a chance to put away a team. So that's on both Illinois and Baylor's coaches. But, I mean, TCU made possibly the dumbest play call I've ever seen. They're at, I believe, the 26-yard line. They have a 43-yard field goal. They run it up the middle for 3 yards. Then they have to run their field goal unit on the field because they don't have a timeout rather than just spiking it with like 15 seconds left. So they have to run their field goal unit on the field. And Griffin Kell, great kick right down the middle as time expired. TCU just seems to find ways to win even when they get dominated. And I think Baylor deserved this game, but TCU got it done.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one there. Another top 4 team getting challenged. Moving on, number 5, Tennessee, just getting absolutely destroyed by USC, completely obliterating their college football playoff chances. This is a game where South Carolina scored a touchdown on 9 out of their 10 drives, and the one they didn't score on was a punt. Spencer Rattler threw for 6 touchdowns and 438 yards. I mean, that is one of the most phenomenal performances we've seen out of a quarterback in it's probably top 5 this year. Just great performance from him. If he can continue to grow and get better, this South Carolina team could make a huge jump next year. Unfortunately, with the 4 losses they have this year, they won't be making any type of run. But maybe they can end a college football hope for Clemson, hopefully. Marco?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Rattler had the game of his life. The only thing I'm worried about is maybe South Carolina used all their fireworks today. Maybe they're out of all the touchdowns after scoring so many. We knew Tennessee's defense was not for real all year, and we knew Tennessee would probably have to score over 40 points to win this game. South Carolina, very inconsistent offense all year, and this is what happens when you have a lot of talent just getting hot. Rattler had a Heisman-level performance, even though he's had one of the worst years out of any SEC quarterback. I just hate to see Hendon Hooker go down like that. He's been carrying this team completely all year, torn ACL in the fourth quarter when the game was already over. You just hate to see that happen, and I hope for the best for him, and hopefully he can move forward with his career.
Yeah, I mean, you just... especially when your team's losing and you have have had such a great season, you just hate to see those star players get hurt. Hoping for him, hoping he has a good future ahead of him. All right, moving on. Number 7 USC wins a crazy game against number 16 UCLA. Marco, you want to take this one?
I think Caleb Williams, depending on how the Michigan-Ohio State game goes this week, and if he plays well next week, might have just won himself the Heisman. I mean, he does not have that good a roster around him. He has good receivers, but his O-line is pretty bad. His running backs were banged up. He makes plays better than anyone else. I think he might be the most valuable player of college football with just what he can do with very little, as he showed last year as well. The fact that he's just a true sophomore is crazy. That was just so impressive what he's able to do. He runs back 20 yards, runs forward 10 yards, delivers a 40-yard dime. I mean, he's just insane. Really reminds me of Kyler Murray. Good win for USC. I think they do control their own destiny with back-to-back top 15 matchups with Notre Dame and Pac-12 championship. Big win, very entertaining game. USC got it done.
Yeah, this USC team, I would say probably controls their own destiny, assuming that LSU loses, which they probably will, to the best team in the country, which is Georgia in the SEC championship. The only way I could see USC not making it if they win out is if LSU also happen to win out. All right, moving on. We're going to do these last 2 games quick. Number 13 UNC gets upset by Georgia Tech. Big upset there. UNC didn't really have any college football playoffs hope, but definitely a tough loss for UNC there. And then number 10 Utah losing at number 12 Oregon, which decided the Pac-12 championship, which is going to be Oregon and USC. Marco, anything to say about those two?
Oh, yeah. I mean, UNC one-loss team. Some fans were hopeful of making the playoffs, but they did not look very good after being up 17-0 to a bad team. They lose 21-17. This also does hurt Clemson's resume because Clemson, they're hoping UNC would be top 10 for that ACC championship, so tough loss.
Yeah, definitely a tough loss there. Moving on, some NFL Week 11 recap. Pats beat Jets in a thriller. This was a punt return touchdown with 9 seconds left. Marco, you can break it down for him.
Yeah, I mean, Pats completely dominated this game. Nick Folk decided to set the record for most field goals in a row made under 50 yards, then missed back-to-back field goals under 50 yards. Pats with a better team. Zach Wilson's arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL. And apparently he said he did not let his defense down, going 9 for 22, 74 yards. Just terrible Jets. Pats deserve to win by more, but I'll take a punt return touchdown to win it.
Yeah, I mean, this Jets defense is very good, so you just feel bad that they have a quarterback that sucks as bad as Zach Wilson and that won't even admit it. So, I mean, that frustrates me personally. I mean, if he owned up to it, he put the work in, he changed it, he got better, I would be like, okay, at least he's trying, but he's just like, he's full of himself, and right now I don't see the Jets making any type of run with him as their quarterback. Moving on, Lions making it 3 straight with a huge win over the Lions, setting up a huge game against the Bills with absolute playoff implications on Thanksgiving. This game against the Giants was basically dominated by Detroit. Great game from the rookie Aiden Hutchinson. Recovered a fumble and also got an interception, his second of the year, which is kind of crazy for a D end. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Jamal Williams, 17 carries, 64 yards, 3 touchdowns. He leads the NFL in rushing touchdowns and I believe total touchdowns. So he's having a great season. He's really putting the hurt on the defense. Although those yardage numbers aren't crazy impressive, he's just been able to dominate short yardage situations, which has been huge for the Lions. Marco?
Oh, yeah, big win for the Lions. Giants and Jets both losing multiple games in a row. I don't think either New York team will make the playoffs.
That's kind of crazy, dude. I mean, Giants are 7-3 right now.
Yeah, they have a tough remaining schedule. I think they're a solid team. I just don't see them making it with a really tough schedule.
I guess, yeah. They would have to, I mean, they only have to win like 3 more games, but we'll see. Moving on. Marco, I'm gonna let you take the little World Cup recap. I know some, but you're definitely more of a soccer guy than me, so take it away.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is probably the upset of the century. Number 3, Argentina in FIFA rankings, losing to number 51, Saudi Arabia, a team that was second worst in the World Cup, losing to the third best team in the world. I mean, beating the third best team in the world. That was just crazy. Saudi Arabia had like 2 shots on target, both of them goals. Argentina had like 30 shots on target, one of them a goal. Argentina had 3 offside goals taken away by VAR. A really tough loss for them, and Messi might not even get out of the group stage in his last World Cup, which would be absolutely crazy.
I feel like they definitely still could. I mean, you win out in the group stage.
Yeah, but have to win back-to-back games to pretty solid teams in Poland and Mexico.
Yeah, but they'll be angry. They'll be ready for revenge. Next up, number 16 in FIFA rankings, the United States of America taking on number 5 in FIFA rankings, England, in a quote-unquote, as Marco said, revolutionary matchup. Corny joke. So the way I see it, I don't watch much soccer, but the USA looked unimpressive against Wales. They had the early lead, gave up a late goal, and this England team just dominated in their first game. I mean, I hope the USA wins, but I have a hard time believing that they will. Marco?
Yeah, I mean, USA should be playing for a draw here. Obviously, it's going to be very tough to beat England when they're just so much more talented at every position. Christian Pulisic is going to have the game of his life. Refs are going to have to be a little bit more in USA favor than they were against Wales. Going to be a tough game. I think England probably wins it 2-1, but I think USA puts up a pretty solid fight in a somewhat of a rivalry.
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see where this World Cup ends up, and we'll continue updating you every week, just short segments like this. Moving on, Maui Jim Invitational. This is a huge tournament. I mean, this Maui Jim tournament is big every year. Marco, you want to list off some of the teams that are playing in it?
Oh, yeah. So we got number 14 Arizona, number 9 Arkansas, number 10 Creighton. I believe Arkansas and Creighton will play tonight.
They do. They're playing right now.
Yeah, Cincinnati, Louisville 0-5 after losing to Texas Tech by 40 points. Ohio State, number 17 San Diego State, number 21 Texas Tech. Just a stacked tournament always. I believe probably winner of Arkansas Creighton will win in the semifinals. But definitely an interesting tournament with lots of rankings on the line.
Yeah, gonna see some huge shifts in the AP poll coming up. Next up, the Phil Knight Invitational. Some of the teams in it are number 18 Bama, Iowa State, number 12 MSU, number 1 UNC, Oregon, number 20 UConn, Villanova, and Portland. So that'll definitely be an interesting tournament to watch. So many of these feast week tournaments, like Thanksgiving week tournaments, are so good, and they really set the slate for how the rest of the season is going to go. So, Marco, do you have anything to say about the Phil Knight Invitational?
Yeah, I do not think UNC will win. I think it'll probably be MSU, Bama, or UConn. UNC has been unimpressive against bad teams. This is going to be their first test against good teams. I think probably UConn or Bama is going to win because I don't like MSU.
Yeah, I mean, that MSU team is very talented, and I agree that UNC has shown much vulnerability as of yet. Next up, the Phil Knight Legacy Tournament. We have number 8 Duke, Florida, number 6 Gonzaga, Oregon State, number 24 Purdue, West Virginia, Xavier, and Portland State. All these Portland teams are making it into these tournaments. So I don't really have anything to say about this. I would say Gonzaga is probably the most likely team to Gonzaga and Duke are probably the most likely teams to make it to the finals. Personally, I have Duke winning it all, but this Purdue team could definitely make a run in this tournament. Marco?
Yeah, definitely. Also solid teams in West Virginia, Xavier, and Oregon State. I doubt Portland State will get within 50, but I think this tournament's pretty up for grabs. Gonzaga has shown vulnerability. Duke lost to Kansas. They're a very young team. It's pretty up for grabs, but I also have Duke getting it against Gonzaga.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, some Thanksgiving football games. Super exciting week in football. Got some great games this weekend. Big games too, not to mention. So we're gonna start it off with the Bills at the Lions. Lions coming off a 3-game win streak. Bills last week getting their first win in a couple weeks at the Lions. At the Lions Stadium, which is pretty interesting. This is going to be a super good game. Me personally, I'm not going to predict it, but what it's going to come down to is if this Lions defense can contain Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, that passing game. We've seen them be able to slow down the running game, like last week against the Giants, held Saquon to a very low yardage, but this week their secondary is really going to get tested, and we'll see what the Lions can do. Marco?
Yeah, I see Bills winning this game. They lost a couple close ones earlier. I think they're tired of losing close games. I do think this will be a close game. I just don't think Lions have the defensive talent to guard Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and all the weapons that the Bills have.
Yeah, that'll be super interesting. Moving on, we have Giants at the Cowboys. Giants coming off a tough loss. Cowboys coming off a huge win over the Vikings. Just an absolute domination of a performance. I got the Cowboys here. They're hot. They're feeling good. Home stadium advantage on Thanksgiving is just a huge advantage. And this Giants team has shown so much vulnerability, and that run game really did not look as dominant as it has been in the past last week. So this Cowboys team is going to win this game. and I think it'll be by a decent margin. Marco?
Yeah, I think Giants, they won a lot of games early. They're going to start hitting a slump here with this tough schedule. Cowboys, Dak healthy. I think CeeDee Lamb has a big game. I don't think the Giants secondary can really guard him, especially with Adoree Jackson possibly injured. I see Giants losing, and they might lose a few games here down the line and slip into a maybe playoff spot, but they'll definitely be on the line of the playoffs and not.
Yes, I'd agree. Next up, we're just going to do one Sunday game. Bengals at the Titans. This is definitely a big game for sure for the Bengals. This Titans team with Derrick Henry and such just has had they've had a pretty good season. They've looked good. I don't have too much to say about this one. I think I'm taking the Titans here. I think Derrick Henry's going to have a big day. Marco?
Yeah, I'm taking the Bengals. I think they're going to start winning some games here down the line. Titans have some good individual talent. I don't think they're that good of a team as a whole. Haven't played very many good opponents. I got the Bengals here in a pretty close game.
Yep, moving on. We're going to do some college football. Week 13. Oh, sorry, my bad. I completely forgot about the Patriots game. That one is on Thanksgiving. I forgot how irrelevant the Patriots are. The Patriots at the Vikings, the last Thanksgiving game. The Patriots, they have one of the better defenses in the NFL. They've looked very good at times. Their quarterback issue has obviously been a pretty big problem, but coming off a big win over the Jets, their defense looked great once again. And the Vikings got absolutely destroyed last week. Just going off last week's performances, I'm taking the Pats here. The Vikings need to make a big bounce back. Marco?
Yeah, I mean, Pats have the best defense in the NFL. Same defense that held the supposedly good Lions offense to 0 points and about 3 first downs. Pats taking on the Vikings. The Vikings coming off a 37-point loss. All we really have to do is guard Justin Jefferson. I don't think we'll be able to do it very well, but I also don't think Vikings are very good. We'll stop Dalvin Cook in the run game and just make them a one-dimensional team. Then from there, maybe we can stop Justin Jefferson a bit. I got Pats 27-20.
Yeah, I mean, you guys will struggle a little bit with Justin Jefferson, but I agree. I think you'll be able to shut them down enough, make them one-dimensional enough to win that game. Next up, we have some college football Week 13 predictions. We're going to start it off with a huge game for the playoffs. South Carolina at number 8 Clemson. The South Carolina team obviously coming off that huge win over Tennessee. This Clemson team, 10-1 right now. Definitely need to win this game. Definitely need to win this game and next week to make the college football playoff. This is definitely an interesting one. South Carolina obviously had so much firepower last week. It's going to come down to can they keep that consistency, and I think they can. I hate this Clemson team. I'm taking South Carolina here in the upset. Marco?
Yeah, I hate Clemson as well. It's a rivalry. It'll be more physical, but I think South Carolina, they just won't have the game of their life again. I think Clemson does have a good defense, even though they're a terrible team. I think this will be a low-scoring game. Both teams probably below 30, but I got Clemson 27-21.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting you saying that it'll be a low-scoring game, considering South Carolina dropped 63 points last week. But I agree. Some of their firepower has probably worn down, being as young as they are. Moving on, number 9, Oregon at number 21, Oregon State. Obviously, that in-state rivalry. Oregon, they have what? 1 loss, right, Marco?
2.
Oh, they have 2. Yeah, so, I mean, definitely not really looking at any college football playoff situations there. I'm taking Oregon here. They've looked good. Wins at UCLA have propelled them up into the top 10 of the rankings. Get a win here, make a New Year's Six Bowl. Solid season for Oregon. Marco?
Actually, wait, I believe that if Oregon loses this and Washington wins their game in the Apple Bowl against Washington State, then Washington will make the Pac-12 championship, but I don't see that happening.
No, I'm pretty sure it's set. I'm pretty sure it's already set.
Either way, I don't see Oregon losing this game. I don't know why Oregon State's ranked. haven't really done anything. They've beaten bad opponents. I guess kept it close with some good opponents. I got Oregon here. I think Bo Nick's starting to get more healthy. He has another very solid performance like he was having earlier in the year. I got Oregon 34-21.
All right, moving on. Number 15, Notre Dame at number 6, USC. Notre Dame started the season very rough. Lost to Ohio State first week, obviously. And then some terrible losses to Marshall and Stanford. Everyone thought, oh, fire Marcus Freeman. He's a terrible coach. They're not winning any games. And then they've just been going on an absolute rampage, winning against very strong opponents. This Notre Dame team is someone to look out for. And I think in the next couple of weeks, they're going to take both USC and Clemson out of the college football playoff. I got Notre Dame here. Marco?
Yeah, definitely going to be a big game here and a big rivalry, one of the bigger rivalries in college football. I think Notre Dame does line up pretty well with USC, having a very good defense that can contain Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison, and a pretty bad offense, but an offense that can run up your throat, something that USC cannot guard, as we saw with Nick Charbonnet last week. Zach Charbonnet last week. I have Notre Dame winning this game. I'll say 27-24. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think USC's offense gets contained. I don't think Notre Dame's offense is good enough to put up lots of points. It'll be a very interesting game with two coaches coaching for new teams. Obviously, Marcus Freeman, first-year coach, Lincoln Riley moving to USC. But give me Notre Dame in a close one, ending USC's playoff hopes and making a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah, and excuse me, I made a mistake. Notre Dame doesn't play Clemson in the ACC championship. That will be North Carolina. Moving on, we have Kansas at number 12, Kansas State. Some implications for this game. Kansas State makes the Big 12 championship with a win or a Texas loss. So they don't have to win this game. In all fairness, they probably will. This Kansas State team has shown flashes of being a very good team. With that, I mean, they had that huge blowout win over Oklahoma State, who's not the best team in all fairness, but still a good win. And they're just the best defense in the Big 12 by far, I would say. One of the better Big 12 defenses we've seen in a long time. It's just going to come down to the fact is if this Kansas State team can get some offense, they'll definitely win this game. But either way, I think they're controlling it. I think they're taking it home. Marco?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas, ever since the magical start, they've been a pretty bad team. 6-5. I mean, for Kansas, that's still pretty good. They beat Oklahoma State, but they did lose to Texas Tech and Texas. I want Kansas State to win. I think they have the best chance of knocking off TCU. They're up 17-0 last time they played TCU. Then Adrian Martinez got injured. It all fell apart. So I'm rooting for Kansas State in this game, even though I do like Kansas, and I do think Kansas State will win this in a pretty close game. I would say 37-31 Kansas State.
Yeah, and you never know with rivalry games. Obviously, all of those are rivalry. Not all of them, but most of them are rivalry games. And it'll just be interesting to see how they all play out. Just because you never know with rivalry games, they're always going to be more physical, more of a mental aspect. It's just which team can control themselves, come out ready and fast, but also calm when they need to be. And finally, to finish off our episode, the game, number 3 Michigan at number 2 Ohio State. We never predict this game, but we will talk about it. So to start it off, on the Michigan side of the ball, especially the offense, Blake Corum should play. Donovan Edwards should play. Obviously, having both those guys would be ideal, and having both of them at 100% would be ideal. So we're hoping that happens. And then on the defensive side of the ball for Michigan, I believe Mike Morris will be back this week. Correct me if I'm wrong, Marco. So this Michigan team.
I think he should be.
So this Michigan team should be back to a higher percentage than they were last week, and we're hoping they can fly around, make some plays, get it done. Marco, you want to take the Ohio State side of the ball?
TreVeyon Henderson and Jackson Smith and Jigba are expected to play. Ohio State's offense has kind of adapted around not having Jackson Smith-Njigba. We don't know what they will look like with him, which is kind of scary considering the fact that he was the best receiver in college football last year. But I think Michigan secondary is very solid. It's going to come down to, can we do what we did last year, which is run the ball all over Ohio State and shut down their run game. I think it's almost impossible to shut down Ohio State's pass game. Limit it as best you can, but like you can't just completely commit to that and then just not do it, and then the game's already over. So stop Ohio State's run, make them one-dimensional. Then limit the pass. That's what it's going to come down to. But I think also a huge matchup, Michigan's offense versus Ohio State's defense. Ohio State, they're going to stack the box. I don't think they're going to let Michigan just run it all over them again. Like, I just don't think Michigan's going to be able to do that as well as they did last year. I think they'll be able to do it to some extent, but not as well as last year. JJ McCarthy's probably going to have to win Michigan this game, and that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, I mean, relying on a sophomore quarterback that's been very iffy this year is definitely a hard thing to do for Michigan. But Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator, we just need to be able to put our trust in him. We need our receivers to get open, make plays. That's what it's going to come down to be honest. And as far as the run game concerns, I would say Ohio State has a weaker front seven than they have in the past. The really only guy they have, I mean, it's probably one of the top picks in the NFL draft, JT Tuimoloau. He is phenomenal, but if we just run it the opposite direction, he can't do anything. So if we limit him, double team him, don't let him make plays, our offense is going to have a significantly easier time moving the ball. And defense side of the ball, we are one of the best run-stopping teams in the country. And although the rookie for Ohio State had a phenomenal week last week, that run game is it hasn't been their strong suit this year. So we're going to need to get some pass rush, I think, is a huge key. I don't think our corners are going to be able to guard those Ohio State receivers for that long. So we're going to need to get better pass rush than we have the past couple weeks if we're looking to win this game. Anything else, Marco?
Oh, yeah. Talking about Ohio State's front seven, they do also have Zach Harrison, probably a second-round pick, and Tommy Eichenberg, probably one of the first few round picks. So they still have a very solid front seven. Obviously, much more talent.
Well, no, I'm just saying compared to years past. Like, obviously, this is Ohio State. They're going to have 5 stars everywhere. But the way they've played this season is what I'm saying.
They definitely have not been as dominant as years past. I think what Michigan's going to have to do is make Ohio State have these 12-play, 13-play, 14-play drives. And then, like last year, maybe get a sack in the red zone. Maybe get a pick in the red zone. Like, make them sustain a drive. Don't just let them get 80-yard touchdowns, which is what they like to do. Just play physical, and hopefully Michigan can get it done and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, all you can do is hope that Michigan comes with their best game, that all our guys are healthy, and get it done. Anything else, Marco?
Nope.
All right. Thank you all for listening to the Second Take Podcast. We will see you all next week, hopefully in good spirits after a Michigan win. Thank you all so much. Peace.